Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wind Down Wednesdays. I'm your host, Paula Taylor, and this is episode 102. So now you've got two opportunities, if you're here in Tucson, a month to attend a sacred sound bath. And I will say, this is a really life-changing practice. And I have a really hard time saying things like that. This is gonna be a tough show tonight for me, and I'm gonna get through it. But this sound practice is life-changing. It has changed my life. When I tone for people, they have huge experiences. They sometimes have visions, they see colors, they have expanded experiences, they feel things in their bodies. And that is all about that power of the vibration of the sound, and that dimensional frequency vibration that I share, that light language that I share that is channeled. That doesn't come from me, it comes through me, and it is extremely powerful. And I promise you, if you're not in Tucson, we are getting to a virtual sound bath. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute, so stick with me if you're not in town. But if you are in Tucson, I encourage you to try one. You'll have two opportunities a month now. They're about an hour and a half. They're $22. And it's a really good way to just sit in sound with no expectation, experience the dimensional frequencies, see if it's something you want to pursue further or join a class and learn more about it. So that's my first announcement. My second announcement, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, I'm going to be taking a couple of weeks off. So I'm taking 2 weeks off starting next week. So I will be back live in 3 weeks. I'm going to talk about why tonight. And when I come back, we're going to do our 2-year celebration, anniversary celebration, and that is going to be a sound bath. That's going to be a free sound bath. It'll be virtually. I'll be doing it here live. And my intention in the future is to start offering these via Zoom. So this is a little bit of an experiment to see how the sound comes across. I'm going to have my full set of bowls here. So that may be the week that I come back, which is 3 weeks from tonight, or it may be the week after. I'm just going to be in flow about how that feels and kind of where I'm at. Usually these topics come to me in flow. So if something comes to me that I think we need to do before that, we may do that first. Oh, I'm stalling. It's been a while since I've been this nervous about a show. We're going to be really transparent. I'm going to be really vulnerable tonight. And I'm pretty sure this is our last trauma-based fears episode. At least it is for the next few weeks. I won't say we'll never come back to this. And tonight we're going to talk about uncertainty. And I think that uncertainty lies beneath just about every other fear that we have. And I've been ticking through my fears, getting ready to talk about this topic, and it's really hard. It's really everywhere. So the first thing I want to say is we're going to talk about these trauma-based fears and the uncertainty that lies beneath them. And I'm going to bring up, some specific fears. I'm going to go into some personal examples, which again, I'm stalling about a little bit. But I want to be clear, even if you did not have a traumatic childhood, which is something we've talked about as far as trauma, you can have trauma at any point in your life, by the way. It doesn't have to be in childhood. Teenage, adolescent years, early adulthood. And that's one of the things that I wanted to mention is that every person on earth has experienced a traumatic event because the pandemic was and is traumatic. And talk about uncertainty. I work in the medical field. My husband works in the medical field for 20 plus years. And we were scared. When COVID started, we were scared. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know how dangerous it was. We didn't know how communicable it was, how contagious it was. So as healthcare workers, there was a lot of uncertainty there. And then there was the uncertainty of getting furloughed. And then there was the uncertainty for me of getting laid off. So everybody has uncertainty. There is uncertainty on a global level right now. I live in the United States. We have uncertainty about the future of women's rights. We have uncertainty about your safety in public because there are shootings on a more than daily basis here. In other parts of the world, there is the uncertainty of living in a conflict zone, of these same issues with rights, with gay rights and women's rights and rights for people of color. I think we're at a really we're really at a turning point right now where humanity is going to step up and start to really expand and get clear and bring more harmony to itself, or we're going to destroy ourselves. And that's pretty scary. Like that is traumatic. That is traumatic. So this is one of those topics that I know affects every single person who is watching or will listen or watch this in the future. Whether or not you relate to the specific things I bring up, start to think about the fears that come up in your life and look at the uncertainty that lies beneath them, because this is a big one. And this is something that keeps us out of flow. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. And I'm still stalling. So what are some of the fears I thought of that uncertainty lies beneath? And what are the fears I didn't think of? It really does lie beneath just about everything that I have thought of. So we talked earlier in the series about rigidity, and that is really kind of this need for control. So if you grew up in a situation where you felt like you were out of control, where you felt like things were unpredictable or chaotic, then you develop this strong fear of uncertainty. What is going to happen next? I need to know what's going to happen next because I need to know if I'm going to be safe, whether that's physical, emotional, sexual, whatever it is. We've talked in the past about scarcity. We didn't include that in this series, and maybe we should have, or maybe we'll do another episode, but the fear under scarcity is that uncertainty about whether I'll have enough of whatever it is. Scarcity of love. Will I have enough love? Will there be enough love for me? Will there be enough money for me? Will there be enough whatever? Fill in the blank. Scarcity is not just about financial abundance. It's about abundance in general. Will I ever feel joy? If you're in grief, sometimes there's uncertainty about whether you'll ever feel anything other than that grief again. Honestly, I really think that underneath every fear is this fear of uncertainty, this need that we have, that we want to know what is going to happen next. We want to control the outcome so that we feel safe. And the truth is there is no certainty. The opposite of uncertainty is certainty. We'll never get that. So the antidote for uncertainty is flow. And we're going to talk more about that. But let me get into my example. And I've got to say, this is the first show in a really long time where I really have no idea what I'm going to say. I said to my husband before I started, usually I kind of go through it in my mind. I have an idea. I have a vague outline. Last week I was really tired, so I wrote a few notes down. I got nothing. I got no idea where this is going. So let's go on a ride together, because I want you to see how earth-shaking this fear really is, how much of our lives it affects. So the reason I'm taking 2 weeks off is that my husband and I are buying a vacation home in Mexico. And that sounds like a really joyful thing. It is. It's very exciting. But I have had so much fear around this. It is triggering all these other fears. Fear of the unknown, that uncertainty just in general. What is going to happen with this? Financial fears, big time. Scarcity fears. Are we going to be able to do this? There is just a ton of uncertainty around this whole process. Buying something in another country, not knowing what to expect there, not knowing, even how to pay the bills or how to get certain basic things taken care of. And I was talking about this a few weeks ago with my husband, and I was like, oh, I need to talk about this on the show. Like, I'm pretty transparent. I usually talk about stuff. And he said to me, you can't complain about buying a vacation home on your show. It's going to make you look like an entitled a-hole, essentially. Those weren't his exact words. And let me be really clear, first of all, I recognize that I am a privileged person. I am a white person. I have a college degree. My husband and I are married. We have stable jobs. There are a lot of ways that we are very, very privileged. And so I didn't say anything at first. I sort of took that in. I sort of accepted that. And then I started really getting into this self-worth work that I talked about last week. and uncovering this like layer beneath the layer, right? We're always excavating more layers. And I started to think about this idea of this comparative suffering is what they call it. And it comes up a lot if you've ever had or been treated for depression, if you've ever been in therapy. Because when you're depressed, people will say things to you like, well, I don't know how you could be depressed. You have a roof over your head. You have, your bills are paid. You have food on your table. People will say things to you, and I think they think they're being helpful. I'm not sure what the intention there is, because sometimes it doesn't really feel, the intention doesn't even feel helpful. But the idea that you cannot suffer, you cannot have fear, you cannot have emotions because someone else is in a different position than you is complete garbage. It's total bunk. It's crap. It is one of those stupid things that we have internalized that does not serve anyone. And so as I started digging more into this, then I started thinking about worth and self-worth. And we talked about that last week, but we've talked so much on almost 2 years of this show about our light, our divine light. We talk about that pretty much every week. And we've talked a lot about how we dim our lights, how we let our light get dirty because we don't want to be seen. We don't want to be recognized. We don't want to stand out from the crowd. We don't want people to say, well, I mean, I'm not going to support Wind Down Wednesdays financially if this girl can buy a second home in Mexico. And that's reasonable. That is a reasonable way that people think. Well, I don't know if reasonable is the right word. That is a programmed way that people think. Absolutely. But it's also garbage. It's also bunk. It's this internalized sort of programming that we've accepted about how our worth is tied to something, and about how if we get too big and too bright, we first of all, we're attracting negative attention, which happens because that's kind of how the world works right now, unfortunately, but also that we're somehow dimming someone else's light. If my light is too bright, then this person next to me must have to get dimmer. That is not how God works. I don't use that word a lot on the show because I know it's a triggering word for people. I usually stick with divine or source or spirit or light or whatever. But we got a problem with God in this country. Wow, I really did not know I was going here tonight, but here we are. God is love. God is not fear. God is not hatred. And so God would never ask you to dim your light because he wants everyone's light to be bright. Ooh, I don't like that. That was my Catholic upbringing. Divine light and love and source and spirit wants everybody's light to be bright. I used to have this bumper sticker that said, everybody does better when everybody does better. And this is something that we are just getting so wrong. Right now, in this country especially, we have convinced ourselves that the only way we can do better is by putting someone else down. We have to climb the backs of other people. We have to climb that hierarchy, that ladder of whatever it is, of people. And we've got to keep people on the lower rungs of the ladder. Otherwise, we can't get to the top. And that's just not the answer. The answer is that we dismantle the ladder completely. There does not need to be a ladder. We are all beautiful, bright, divine beings underneath these layers of this onion, of this trauma, of this dirt of excavation that we do, this spiritual excavation. We are all the same underneath that. And some of us are doing that work of excavation to find that, to feel that, to show that. And that can be challenging for people who are not doing that work, for people who don't feel that spark, because there's so many layers of muddy vibration on top of their beautiful divine light that they don't even know it exists. And so they lash out in hatred, in fear. And we do this to each other in our own lives. We do this to each other in our families. And then we see it played out on this macro level in all of this conflict and the horrible ways that we treat each other. And so I didn't say anything about buying a vacation home because I internalized that. I listened to what my husband said, and I have no blame for him because, again, this is a programmed belief. And as soon as he said it, I was like, oh, you're right. I'm going to make myself a target. People are going to think, whoa, look at this rich girl with her fancy 2 houses. And I could go into, details about the fact that I don't have any children because I can't biologically, and we made a choice not to adopt. And so the money that I maybe would have spent raising children, I am now spending raising this child that is my business. And part of this business is me growing my light. And part of me growing my light is me heeding my call. And one of my calls is to be on the beach and start doing retreats. And so in my mind, that is where this is going. And absolutely, this is something that we want and we're going to enjoy as a family. And it's also the next step in my personal and professional evolution. And that's really scary. I've had a lot of uncertainty about my business recently. I just said to my friend yesterday, I thought about just quitting completely. I just got really discouraged recently. And it sometimes feels a little bit like we're screaming into a void. And I've been doing this personal work on myself since I was 16 years old. And I really just stepped into doing the show about 2 years ago, but I've been doing body work and massage for 20 years. I mean, I've been doing this with other people for years. I've been doing what they now call like coaching for years, which we didn't have a word for it. It's advising, helping, I don't know, not therapy because that's a licensed profession, but helping people self-actualize. Oh my gosh, I can't do it. Self-actualize. Helping people uncover their light, clean their light so they can shine it bright. I want your light to shine bright. And I want you to know that your light shining bright does not dim my light. And I want you to know that I hold space for people who aren't shining brightly. And I try my best to love those people. And sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes it's really hard when people are doing so much harm in the world out of this lack of knowing who they really are. So how can I quit that work? If I help one person uncover their light, undim their light, how much does that ripple out? And that's one of the things we talk about pretty much every week on the show, about how our tiny human minds cannot comprehend how much of an effect we really have. If I see one massage therapy client and they say to me, as someone did earlier this week, I feel so good, I feel like Gumby. And they come in and they look one way and they leave and they look a completely different way to me, energetically and physically. Then they walk out into the world, and how many people do they affect in that expanded state that might have had a different interaction with them if they hadn't had that moment of expansion, that period of time where they allowed themselves to clear some of that muddiness and to expand and to be loved and to step into harmony. Love is harmony. So I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to keep being honest and vulnerable about how sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to keep doing something when deep down you're not sure you're even worthy of it. If I sit here and I tell you, come to my sound bath, it can be powerful and life-changing. I had somebody take one of my very first DFE classes, and afterwards she said to me, well, that wasn't life-changing for me. And I was like, okay, that's true. I said it's been a life-changing practice for me. But it also depends on how you come into something. And what's life-changing for one person may not be life-changing for another person. But what I know is that the work that I am doing changes vibrations. And sometimes people don't realize it. that person who came to my class might have had a vibration shift and just not been in a space of self-awareness to recognize it. And that's okay. We hold space for all of the vibrations that exist on this planet, but we also do our best to clarify ourselves so that that ripples out. Because the only way that we're going to succeed as a species is to continue to clarify and harmonize and expand. And if we can't get there, we may not make it. And people need to start hearing that, I think. There are people talking about how little time we have left with our Mother Earth before we ruin the climate to the point that there's no coming back. And what may actually happen, just like this pandemic, is that our Mother Earth will start sending things to cut our population to keep herself alive. Like storms that are increasingly bad, like fires that are increasingly bad, like all the things we are seeing. Because our Mother Earth is an organism with her own beautiful vibrational field, and she doesn't want that muddiness either. So, I'm taking 2 weeks off. I'm buying a house in Mexico. I am holding space for the uncertainty and the huge amount of fear that I have about running resorts in Mexico. It's something that fills me with joy, just like this house, but it fills me with fear. I don't know how to plan that. I don't know if anybody will show up. I don't know how to make the logistics of it work. But I know that I'm here for a reason. And I know that if I keep coming here and telling you that you're here for a reason, and that you are inherently loved and inherently worthy, that you will be more likely to find that reason. And the more of us that find our reason, that find our calling, that find our passion, the clearer our vibration as a people gets. The more harmonized we get with each other, and the more expansive we are. So let's talk just briefly about uncertainty and flow, and then we're going to get into our meditation. So I said earlier, we don't have an opposite for uncertainty. We do. The opposite of uncertainty is certainty, but certainty does not exist. I mean, there's that old joke, the only thing certain in life is death and taxes, right? I just spent about 5 months trying to get my tax return, so even taxes aren't certain. So what I want to talk about is an antidote for this fear of uncertainty, for this uncertainty that underlies our fear. And the antidote is flow. And it's hard. I am telling you, I just came off of the biggest roller. I mean, it's still happening. And even after we close, it's going to be happening. There is so much shifting happening right now in a lot of areas of my life. But now, this is the one that I have been alluding to, that I haven't mentioned this, buying this house in Mexico. And if you've ever been or seen people surfing, there are people who surf these 100-foot waves in Hawaii that I saw in person when we lived there. And it is literally life or death. If they catch the wave wrong, if they, if their timing is off by just a little bit, and they do it by being in flow, by being completely in the moment. If you've ever heard any of a professional surfer, if you've ever watched a surfing competition, it's actually pretty interesting to hear them talk. And they're kind of known for being, hang 10, man, even I'm moving my body as I'm talking about this, back and forth to the side, I'm in flow, there's that surf sign, and they talk slow, and there is something about being in the moment that they learn by surfing. And you can get that in all sorts of different ways. That's what came into my mind as an example. But so many of us spend very little time in the moment. And in that moment is where we find flow. The uncertainty is never going to go away. The fear is probably never going to go away. There's going to be some fear. I was thinking about what I was going to say about this, and I was thinking about Bill Gates, and I thought, yeah, Bill Gates might have some fear and uncertainty around whether he should buy a third yacht or whatever. And to me, that seems ridiculous. And to somebody, who's trying to put food on the table, what I'm talking about may seem ridiculous. But underneath it is the same. Underneath it is that fear of uncertainty. And if we can recognize that and cut each other some slack, that is a huge step toward allowing flow in our society. We have very rigid rules about things and internalized programming that we've been indoctrinated in since we were children. So how do we fight that? We fight that with flow and intuition. And intuition only comes in flow. When you're all in fear and tight and your muscles are tight and your brain is tight and your mind is very rigid, we can't get that intuitive information. We can't get that beautiful energy of light and love through a closed space, through a tight space. So we open to flow, we come into the present moment, and we just keep doing it. And the more we do it, the better we get. And the better we get, the more we do it. Because it's kind of addictive. Like I said, I'm not going to stop doing this. I might have stopped the show. I might have quit. I might have closed up my business and closed down my website and burned all my books in the trash because I was upset and frustrated that I felt like things weren't going the way I wanted them because there was uncertainty in the way things were going. But I would still have been doing this practice, whether you knew it or not, whether you saw me or not, because this is how I've gotten my light as bright as it is. And I want to keep making it brighter. I want people to see my bright light and come to it like a beacon so I can show them how to make their light bright. And it's hard because people are still trying to get us to dim our lights, and people are still making you a target if your light is bright. And we gotta stop. So I am a safe space, and I am not perfect. So if I've ever made you feel less than beautiful and bright, I apologize for that, personally and professionally and just in general, because my intention is for the highest good, is for all of us to get bright and beautiful and recognize how loved we are and how worthy we are. So let's meditate together. So find yourself a comfortable position. Tonight's meditation is all about flow. So whether you'd like to sit up, we might be moving a little bit. If you prefer to lie down, that's fine. And I want to start with some movement. So what I'd like you to do, if you can, and if you can't, you can just imagine this movement. But I want you, from a seated position, to just start swaying your upper body back and forth a little bit. This is an exercise we do in Qigong, in Daoyin, to move energy with kind of a certain hand movement. But don't worry about your arms, don't worry about your hands. Just kind of move your torso back and forth. And again, if this is not accessible to you, then just think about that. Or maybe move your hands in front of your body, back and forth. And just notice that your body will find a rhythm here. And let yourself feel the rhythm that's calling to you. You might slow down a little bit as you come present into the body, just swaying back and forth from side to side. Just feel this invitation to flow. This invitation to step into flow is always here. We just sometimes don't hear it. We get so rigid and so caught up in fear that we forget this is even an option for us. So as you're ready, let that movement still. Let yourself come still. If you need to move in any other way, shrug your shoulders or move your head and neck around. But just check in with yourself. Notice if there's a little bit of a shift even just from doing that short movement exercise. Take a few nice deep breaths in through the nose, sigh them out with that audible ha sound. And do these breaths today with no intention in mind, with no direction in mind. We're not preparing to go anywhere. We're just stepping fully into the present moment here. If you feel that your body is calling for a little more movement, you can do that. I'm kind of twisting my torso back and forth, left and right now, just gently wringing out the spine a little bit. Introducing flow to the body can help relieve tension in both the body and the mind. So take another 2 to 3 deep oxytocin breaths. And then, if it's accessible to you, just start gently moving your neck around in whatever way calls to you. You can kind of circle it, or maybe tip it side to side, look side to side. And again, if this is not accessible to you, just imagine that you're doing this, or make the movement really small. Just be completely intuitive here. And then as you're ready, come still again and take 2 to 3 more deep oxytocin breaths. Come back into the torso now and make a few little circles to the right. Again, you can make this movement as big or small as you'd like, or just imagine that you're doing this, set the intention. And then as you're ready, come circling in the other direction, to the left. And then come still and take 2 to 3 more oxytocin breaths. And now roll your shoulders to the back. Again, as big or small as you'd like with this movement, or just set the intention to do this if it's not comfortable or accessible, and then roll to the front. And then come still and take another few oxytocin breaths. And then roll your wrists, and if you like, your ankles, or you can kind of do one at a time a little bit. You can probably hear all my joints cracking, my massage wrists. And then as you're ready, come still again and take a few more deep oxytocin breaths. Check in again now. Notice how your body feels. Notice if your mind has quieted a bit, and if not, that's fine. Allow that crown chakra, the top of the head, to gently open, and invite that beautiful divine light and unconditional love that is the source of your being. Invite it to come in through the top of the head, and let this flow completely intuitively tonight. Perhaps this comes in a spiral, coming down through the head into that mental space. And let this light clear away any muddy vibrations, any heaviness as it comes down into the throat and the neck. Allowing this beautiful light to flow down into your shoulders and through the upper arms, through the elbows, into the forearms and the wrists and hands. This beautiful flowing light of unconditional love flow down into your chest and your upper back. Spend a moment here clearing any muddy frequencies in the heart space and the chest. And then allow this flow down into the belly, mid-belly, mid-back, low belly, low back, this beautiful cave of your solar plexus, of your torso. Spend a minute here allowing this flow to clear up any muddiness, any heaviness, bringing light to this area. Let it flow into your hips and your pelvis, flowing into the bones of your pelvis, clearing up any stagnation here, anything you've been holding on to that's no longer necessary. Allow this beautiful flow to spiral down around your thigh bones, through the thighs, into the knees, clearing up any muddiness, any disharmony in the knees, and then spiraling down around the bones of the lower legs, all the way to the ankles and feet, clearing up any muddy vibrations, any holding in the feet. Let that beautiful light and love spiral down into the earth now. And then invite our Mother, the Earth, to send her energy up your body. Beautiful, dark, rich, fertile support coming from this beautiful planet. Let that come all the way up through your body and out the top of your head like a fountain. And then just feel this flow of energy up from the earth, down from your head and into the earth. This up and down beautiful flow. And now feel into the area outside your body. You can put your arms here if you'd like, and notice what this feels like. Do you feel flow here away from your body? Does it feel tight? We worked with this a little bit last week, and you can always go back and revisit that, but just see what you feel here. And then allow some flow to come into this area. In whatever way calls you, you can move your hands through this. You might feel areas that are calling for your attention. Let this be completely intuitive. If your mind thinks that this is weird or strange, just let that thought float by and come back to what you're doing. Don't forget the back of your body. Even if you can't get your arms back there, if you're moving your arms, you can kind of go out to the side with the intention of working on the back. Just maybe doing a little bit of brushing or clearing. Come into the front of your body. And then as you're ready, come still again and feel the difference. Feel the flow. And just stay with this. Perhaps there's a part of your body that still feels a little bit stagnant or tense. You can focus on that. You can continue to focus on that area around your body, in front or behind. You can focus on that mental space if you feel like you've really been in your head a lot recently. Let this be completely intuitive, but as we step into sound here, allow yourself to continue to invite more flow into this area that is so desperately calling for it. You can move in whatever way you're called to. You can get up and move your whole body if you'd like. You can just use intention. And if everything feels really flowing, maybe dance a little bit with this flow. Let the sound that's going to come through invite more flow into your space. And just really enjoy this for the next few moments here. Internalize this flow now. Step into the rest of your day, your week, your month with this flow activated. Even when you feel fearful, even when you feel overwhelmed by uncertainty, there is flow available. This flow is part of who you are. This flow is part of that divine birthright of love and light and joy and spontaneity, of intuition, of growing your light and letting it be seen, and helping others do the same. If you'd like, you can gently allow that crown chakra to close or leave it open for the highest good. Take a nice deep oxytocin breath, sigh it out with that audible ah sound. Feel that flow now. Give yourself permission to enjoy it and to carry it forward. Sat Nam. The truth of your identity is that you are divine light and love and flow. Let yourself uncover that. Let yourself shed the layers that have hidden that from you and see it. Let yourself see it. Let other people see it. Let it ripple out to change everyone you encounter. As you're ready, you can begin to slowly move around. And when you feel ready, if you like and you're in a safe space, you can just drift off to sleep if you feel relaxed and ready. If you'd like to come back to the rest of your day or evening, take one more nice deep breath. Come fully back into your body. Make sure that you're fully present. And as you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a flowing rest of your evening and your week. Let your light shine. Give yourself permission to encourage other people to let their lights shine, and know that as we all shine, we create beauty and brightness. We can't dim anyone else's light by shining our own. We can only be a beacon of light to encourage them to shine just as brightly as we do. And I will see you in 3 weeks for Wind Down Wednesday.